Well, welcome back to Citizen Development Live. I'm your host, Neil Miller. Today, our guest is Laura Fottenberry. She is the Director of Marketing at XVoucher. Hey, Laura, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm excited to speak with you and get into this wonderful topic. Let's just start off talking about your journey into this wonderful world of citizen development. How did you hear about that term first, and what's your journey been like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I joined the Project Management Institute and joined the citizen development team there. So I got to dive right in and see different frameworks and different methodologies and really kind of capture from our partners some of the different ways that the no code and low code platforms are really taking advantage and educating people on what the term is and how they can use it.
Did you know about that term before you were at PMI?
I didn't, but I'm always interested in growing. So when I join companies, the most important thing to me is that I can be part of a growth journey and help them, break into new markets. So to find this opportunity was a real blessing, and I really enjoyed meeting the new people and kind of learning more and diving into it. So it was kind of a head first journey,
Yeah.
and I didn't look back.
Yeah. So you've since moved on. You're at XVoucher now. Kind of describe your role there. What are you doing?
Sure. So I'm director of marketing here, and it's been fantastic. I love the education technology space, being able to be a part of people's learning journeys and kind of help with skill shortages worldwide is really rewarding and something that I love being a part of.
Yeah. Just before the call, we were talking about some stats about skill shortages. You want to share kind of what you guys are in the middle of going through and finding?
Sure. So we're actually working on a blog right now, and we work with IDC, and some of the analysts there have some crazy different stats that they've been talking through and releasing and expecting. And one of the ones that was just kind of astounding to hear is that by 2026, they're predicting that 90% of organizations will feel the pain with skill shortages, costing $6.5 trillion worldwide.
Wow. So 90%, I think, pretty much just means everyone's going to feel this. By 2026 is not far away. You're talking 2 years or less. Where are you guys seeing that? Or where do you see that in the broader market in terms of IT skill shortages?
I think it's something that, we've kind of known about, people have been talking about for quite some time, but I think people are starting to really feel that pain now because a lot of different companies and teams and people at those teams, they have to have different hats. They have to understand how to solve problems. They have to, make business decisions quickly. And in order to do that, you really do have to have different answers to problems than you've had in the past.
Yeah. When we talk about citizen development, that's often just what it is. It's about a new way to solve an existing problem that's there. So, based on your experience with PMI and what you're doing now at XVoucher, how do you see citizen development as a solution to an existing problem?
Yeah, so I think citizen development is a fantastic way to solve IT backlogs, to, relieve the pressure on your IT teams and to solve problems in the meantime. There's so many times where you find something isn't the best process or
Hmm.
it's taking longer than it should or a customer needs something and you really need to figure out a way to solve that problem. And through citizen development, you really are able to figure out new ways without, doing shadow IT, without working against teams. You're working together, but you're figuring out, the best way to solve problems in real time. And when it comes to using low code and no code tools, I mean, I think a lot of us don't even realize half the time that we're using them. So at XVoucher, we use HubSpot for our CRM and CMS, which that's a low code tool. But then also, when we go to different shows and we're attending different sessions, we were recently at AWS reInvent, and Amazon SageMaker is a fantastic way to democratize machine learning.
Mm,
And Microsoft has Copilot, right? So there's a lot of different tools coming out where you can kind of take AI and take generative AI and take machine learning and solve problems where you might not have thought of yourself with certain technical skills, but you're able to use these tools to figure out, I've got so much data. How do I know the answer here? How do I figure out a way to move forward? How do I make the best decision to test something new? And these tools help you do that.
yeah. We often talk about low code platforms, like on a general sense, they can make all sorts of applications. But you make the point that there's a lot of tools out there that don't call themselves low code, but are actually they find a way to abstract the code base. For example, you mentioned HubSpot, and there's lots of other website tools out there that take the complex HTML language and make it into something that people can just drag and drop around and move around. So that's something that I'd like to hear your opinion a little bit more on, just the proliferation of low code across the spectrum.
Sure. I mean, even I would say a great example, even beyond HubSpot, is Canva,
Hmm.
right? Like
Yep.
before, you needed a designer, you needed a lot of different components in order to, create flyers. I remember being in InDesign going, oh my goodness, I can't even move this text.
Right.
I don't know if I'm going to mess something else up. There's so many different layers. And so I think that having more of these tools available makes it easier to accomplish your goals. And I think you learn a lot along the way, right? Like there are still right ways and wrong ways to do it. There are still things that you need to keep in mind. You need to understand some design before you're creating flyers, right? But they also have templates, so
Hmm.
they've done some of that work for you to just make it easier for you to move forward.
Yeah. And what about the jump between? So like Canva is great. It gives a non-designer the tools to be able to do a decent design, and the templates are there. And then you have this next jump we're all in the middle of, which is in generative AI. So now you have something like a Dolly or a Mid Journey that even further removes the skills you need to do that. Do you see that in other places too? That's just kind of a trend across application development, across design, across writing. That will just continue to happen like that.
Yeah, I think there are always ways to figure out how to do things faster, more efficiently, and I think that people are coming up with that. I think that I read a story the other day about these people who realized that a lot of people don't know how to prompt Chat GPT properly, right? So they might be like, "Help me do this," but they're not understanding that you can go a lot deeper and say, "I need this delivered in this format. I'm talking to this type of audience," things like that. And so they actually created a business for it, and they sold their business, and now they're working full time at that business. And so I think, yes, as we move along and as different things come about, and we're able to, make some progress in different areas, I think there's going to be people coming up with new ideas about how to do things more efficiently. And we've talked about this for such a long time about how AI isn't taking away jobs. It's just enhancing the jobs, and humans are always going to need. It's just enhancing the jobs, and humans to help that, right? And to make things more efficient, and then figure out the next best thing.
Well, even just within the marketing world, let's just stay there because that's your expertise.
Mhm.
Have you found that where do you still rely on a traditional web developer to build something custom? And what are areas that you might have relied on someone like that 5, 10 years ago, but now you don't do at all?
Sure. So now, we're currently actually building a new website, and we obviously needed a developer and a designer to help. And we obviously needed a developer to, do that on our own.
Right.
But when we're asking them to create things for us, what we're asking for is different than what I would have asked for 5, 10 years ago.
Hmm.
So now I'm asking for templates. I'm asking for modules to be created. I'm asking for ways that I can go in and adjust the copy. I don't need them to make something that's 100% right, because as we all know, the copy on a page will change like constantly.
Right.
And so I need them to create that foundation, that framework, that um, things that we can build upon. And in the past, I would have maybe asked for a little bit more of, I need this specific thing on just this one page. Now I'm asking for, how can we create something that we can use on multiple pages? How do we make modules?
Hmm. Yeah. So there's obviously still a place, and I, l- I like what you said about the things you're requiring are even more complex than you might have required before, and you're asking for more than you would have asked for. So as you mentioned, like that's still you need that human interface in between the technology and what the business actually needs. So there's still a great role for someone to fill that. Within citizen development, what do you feel like is? is the place for that person? Like, do you feel like that's always going to be in a director level role, someone who really understands everything it needs to do it, or do you see even other people on your team and on your staff that are also interacting and asking for new things and coming up with new ideas?
No, I don't think it's a certain level of role. I think it's a almost a mindset,
Hmm.
right? I think that when I'm managing different people, I'm trying to coach them to understand why we're doing things this way or why we're asking for things this way so that they can do that the next time, right? So that they're constantly saying, let's critically think about this. How are we going to get the most from it? How are we going to be able to reuse something? And so I think that that's again a mindset. It's with Project Management Institute. They had different frameworks that you would look at, different methodologies. Trying to figure out, is citizen development the right answer for this particular project? Is it the right approach? But I think within all of that, is the fact that things are constantly agile, right? Like you're not trying to build something that's perfect from start to finish anymore. You're trying to create something with other people, and you have to take into account, the different integration to data sources and security and things like that. And I think that not having to create something that's perfect makes you create something that's better that you can
Hmm.
build upon and other people can help you think of it from different perspectives.
That's really interesting. I feel like maybe in the past, when a business is making a request from IT, for example, that they maybe did expect it to be perfect. I want it to be exactly to spec. Whatever I said, you should be able to deliver. And now we're into this era where, because business users are more involved in the process, they know kind of what to expect, and they have more ability to customize as it comes out, as it iterates. There's less of an expectation, like that first draft is, they know it's not going to be great or perfect, because and they're not worried about that because they can further make it better as they go through.
Yeah, and I think that's the way of the future, right? We don't
Yeah.
have to make perfect things. We can it's like machine learning. It's constantly learning.
Yeah.
It's the same with what we're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. Within marketing, we've talked about like web design, but what are some other applications that you feel like you would either like to build or like to have or like to have around you, that would also, elevate your game? So outside of just making better websites and things like that, what are the types of things as a citizen developer that you would want to see made?
Sure. So I think that, I mean, there's a lot of different tools that help you with processes that help you figure out, if we have this goal, who's the owner, how do you get from here to there? So along the way, building different marketing plans and campaigns, it can help there. And then again, like with the data, I think that being able as a marketer to utilize machine learning or to properly take data sets and figure out how to do data modeling. I mean, that's something that as a marketer, that's pretty complex, right? In the
Hmm.
past. But now it's kind of at our fingertips. And so we have so many different data sources that we can look at, even when we're building reports with HubSpot or low code, no code tools. There's so many different sources that you can choose to pick from. How do you pick the right ones? And how do you get the answers that your leadership team is asking for or not even asking for because they don't know exist? Or how do you make the best decisions for your business to move forward, to help them grow?
Yeah. Do you feel like having that systems mindset, technology mindset, almost a developer mindset, has become essential for someone who's in a high level role as a marketing leader? Like, from now forward, you're going to need the ability to think in those terms, or do you still feel like we're kind of in an in between era where, as long as you're surrounded by a team that understands those things, you'll be fine?
I mean, I think it depends, right? But at the same time, like you don't know everything,
Yeah.
and as a marketer, like I know that it doesn't matter what level my role is. I'm always trying to learn, and I think that critical thinking and problem solving and kind of having that mindset of growth, learning, and just constantly trying to figure out the next best thing and listening to other perspectives is what helps you be the best marketer that you can be.
Yeah. Within your company now at X Voucher, are there any other areas of the business that are experimenting with citizen development or doing other things, or do you have any other stories to share from other parts of the business?
I mean, I think that it's a place where sometimes you don't even realize you're using citizen development, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it doesn't matter the size of your company, you're always going to have an IT backlog. There
Hmm.
are always going to be things where you're like, wow, I really wish this could happen now. We need this for a customer. Or we need this to make better decisions or whatever it may be. And it didn't go into the next sprint, or you don't know when it will be, right? It's on the backlog. So, how do you take those situations and figure out which ones will be the best ones for other business professionals to solve? And so at XVoucher, we're constantly kind of looking at that too and saying, how can we utilize other people in the business to kind of move certain things forward?
Hmm.
um, and what things are so technical that there's absolutely no way to get away with
Yeah.
not having those people fully involved.
Yeah, I think looking at that IT backlog is so essential for determining like what's needed, right? Like you said, if it's all super highly technical stuff that's going to require somebody with a significant skill set that we need, that's one thing. But then also identifying and pulling out the things out of that backlog, which are reasonable for someone else to jump in and maybe do 80% of to create, or 90% of, that they can get most of it done, and then finish it out with somebody else.
Absolutely.
Well, good. Laura, as we close out here, what is any myths about citizen development that you want to dispel in front of audience today?
I think it's just kind of leaning on the fact that um, it's not replacing IT. It's
Mm,
not shadow IT. I think that people with a highly technical background and skill sets that they're constantly evolving. They need to be leveraged. They need to be included in the conversation. Citizen development isn't removing anything. It's democratizing so that other people can help and solve problems that aren't like we talked about, like requiring certain code, things like
right.
that. If we've got tools that can solve problems in the meantime, why not use them so that we can, elevate each other, utilize everyone's perspectives, and make more efficiencies in the business.
Yeah, I think it's a great perspective. This is definitely like a all boats rising type situation. As we bring in these new technologies and see these new platforms, it's something that everyone's going to be required to increase their own skills, but it's going to help everyone in the meantime. And we're all just going to be doing, hopefully, more amazing things within the organization and business.
Yes.
Well, good, Laura. Thanks so much for being on the show. We appreciate it. We look forward to staying connected with you and hearing more about your journey.
Thank you for having me.